It's time for another episode of the Daily Blogcast for Internet Marketing, where every day we find all the best industry blog posts and turn them into something you can listen to, because you can't read. Now, here are your hosts, Mark and Brian.
Hey, welcome to episode 84 of the Daily Blogcast for Internet Marketing. Very excited today.
Ooh, me too.
Woohoo!
No, I'm not.
I am, man. I'm so optimistic about internet marketing.
Okay, good.
I'm even optimistic, too.
Oh, good. What do you have for us?
I have something from Seth's
Cheerleader guy.
Seth's blog. That's probably why I'm in such a good mood.
Oh, yeah?
Because his bald head just like makes me happy. I don't know why. He looks like a cartoon character, that guy.
Who?
Seth Godin.
Oh.
So
never met him.
Yeah, me neither. I probably walked by him a few times. No, I probably would have recognized him if I did.
I'm not sure that's a complimentary thing to say.
No, I'm
he
sure.
looks like a cartoon character.
He's just a character.
Okay.
I don't know. But he was one of the people that said, "Do not read my blog word for word." But he got back to me really quick.
Good.
So he blogs every single day. He'll do like a short post of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
And it's mainly like I don't even know what word I'd use, but I don't know. He's a deep thinker, I guess is the best way to say it.
Okay.
So anyhow, this one was titled, "What Does It Sound Like When You Change Your Mind?" And it was funny because 18 years ago, or 19 years ago, he said that he was working on an internet startup, Yoyodyne. And he said, "Man, I don't think this web thing makes sense." Like just the web in general. And he said, "It's just like Prodigy, but slower and with no business model." And so he was like, not really thinking the internet's going to really pan out to much of anything.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it took him 18 months to change his mind. Actually, it took him only like 5 minutes to change his mind, but 18 months later, he decided he was just wrong. And he said, "This is one of the assets of youth and something that's worth seeking out and maintaining. That flip, the ability when confronted with a world that doesn't match the world in your head to say, wait, maybe I was wrong." And, I think about that all the time. When as you get older, you're not open to like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not doing things right. And he said, if you needed to, could you argue passionately for the thing you don't believe in today? Could you imagine walking over to the other side of the new argument to once again hear that sound? That's the essential skill of thriving in a world that's changing fast. So just different way of thinking about the decisions that you make as as you get older, that, don't lose that youthful ability to switch your perspective. So I like Seth stuff. I don't read all sometimes it just goes over my head and I'm confused. So, but other times I kind of like that one. I was like,
sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. I agree there. And then, have you heard Nicky Cakes' latest show?
No.
I haven't listened to the whole thing yet either, but I really like the whole idea behind it. Blackhat SEO Done Right. So he interviews, let's see, who was it? Michael Genete. And it's about doing black hat links, black hat link building. And he has like all the different type of tools that you would use to do it. And build your own black hat link network.
Yeah.
So it's like,
that's cool.
That's pretty cool. Spam bound and down. So
is that a podcast?
Yeah, that's his podcast episode number 2, The Cake Show.
All right.
So I thought I'd just
I'll have to give it a listen.
A quick little piece of news.
We need to start playing clips from his show. I like that John Chow clip you played yesterday. I think we should start playing clips from everybody's videos and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that is a good idea. I'm glad I thought of it.
Yeah. Probably make our show more entertaining.
More.
I can't talk today.
Probably make our show more.
It's today Thursday and I didn't even have tequila.
I know.
Sorry.
What a waste.
Dang it. All right. So, and then in my final bit, actually, it's not really news.
It's your bit? These are bits?
I was going to say my final bit of news.
Oh, okay.
But it's actually my blog post. Not my blog post personally, but it's from Top Rank Blog.
Yeah.
From Lee Odden or Odden, and 5 ways to grow your blog community and readership. And number 1, facts tell, but stories sell. And it just goes on like, tell stories. And Pat Flynn recently announced that he was going to be doing that on almost every single post that he makes. And he's done it a lot in the past, and I've used it and had some really good success with it as well. But you know, you definitely have to have it relate to.
So every post is a story.
No, not every post is a story. So if you're talking about maybe getting more links or something, the main item that you're trying to present as valuable content or valuable information to your readers, if you could incorporate a story, like a personal experience into that, then it makes, you know, people tend to read the entire article instead of just skimming it. And there's also, you get more engagement on your website and stuff.
Okay.
So it's good. Number 2, it's not about you. It's about them. Mark, it's not about you. It's about them.
Okay. I don't know why that was directed at me, but okay.
Well, I do this all the time. Like when I'm writing sales pieces or landing pages or even life in general, I tend to think about myself first.
I think everybody does, though. That's natural.
But it's totally true. It works way better if you could write a sales piece or do a blog post or a podcast where you're like solving the pains or goals of your audience.
That's what we try to do on this podcast.
Yeah, totally. 100%. Boy.
It's all for you.
Yeah. So, but I really find that works very well. When I'm doing postcard mailings, things like that, really have to do that. Number 3, people will work for a living, but die for recognition. And it's, you want to find ways to ask your readers, subscribers, fans, and friends and followers to interact and participate. So go over to the Daily Blogcast and leave us a comment. Reward and recognize the kind of participation you're after. The simple satisfaction of contributing and being recognized is one of the most powerful when developing a strong blog community. And number 4, quantity of quality is what wins with blog content. And, you know, there's a lot of competition out there in the blogging area. So it's important to produce very high quality, relevant, and shareable content on a regular basis. Provide something that readers can't find elsewhere and do that consistently. And then number 5, optimize and socialize. And blog content that is easy to find and search and is shared by credible sources on the social web could grow your community in very meaningful ways. The important things is that quality content will share itself, socialize your content, promote the best stuff through paid amplification like social ads, PPC, stuff like that. Promotion.
What's that called? Social amplification?
Yeah, that's what they said.
Okay.
So through paid amplification, promote to your own social networks and make sure that it's easy to socially share once you've attracted that reader.
I see.
Keep in mind, community building is an art and science as well as ongoing.
And a lot of work.
Yeah, and a lot of work. And what works for him is that community might not fly with another. One community might not fly with another. Continuously engage and optimize your efforts for the best results. So
good.
That's it from Lee. Thanks, Lee.
Sweet. So this is a post kind of, well, not really along those lines, but this is a little bit of a different post. So I don't know if you ever read ppc.bz. I think you met Barman at that party, the AF Playbook party at the Palms in Vegas, ASW. Oh, yeah. Anyway, he's a pretty popular blogger in the community, and he actually redesigned his whole blog. So his blog used to be all about drama and making fun of people,
Really?
Like way more than most people make fun of people.
That's awesome.
But it was funny to read. So he's gone through his whole blog and he redesigned it, and he's going to archive all of his old posts. And now he's grown up and he's an adult now, and he's going to give really solid, productive stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. I was shocked as well, but
I can't believe it.
One of his first posts was really good. It's called Daily Rituals, How Artists Create and Avoid Creating Their Creations. He says, I came across Daily Rituals, which is a book, on Malin Darris's blog. There used to be a little widget on the right-hand side that recommended the book, so I got it. The title appealed to me quite a bit because rituals are something I've become quite a fan of lately. No, not good old satanic rituals, but rituals, by rituals, I mean daily habits, routines, and systems that free up the brain for more creative thought and impactful work. Routine in the right hands can be finely calibrated mechanism for taking advantage of limited resources, time, willpower, self-discipline, and optimism. In his book, An A to Z Guide on How to Become Rich and Famous. Oh, sorry. Is his book an A to Z guide on how to become rich and famous? No. What you'll get is insight into how some of the most famous creators of our time and from centuries ago are able to do what they do. So it sounds pretty cool. And he continues on, if you consider yourself a maker of things, a creator, then you should definitely have daily rituals on your bookshelf. It's a collection of anecdotes about 160 some different writers, artists, playwrights, composers, musicians, mathematicians, scientists, and other professionals giving insight into how they create what they create. Each artist is given a page or two, some more. Some stories are compiled from other sources while others are told from the first person. As I read the book, I noticed a few common threads popping up. Of course, every person is different, but there are a few key takeaways and insights, and I'm about to list, which can be applied to most of the artists in the book.
Cool.
So before I read the list, he also says some of these insights are great advice and coincide with many success principles that you might have read elsewhere. But there's also some bad advice. In fact, some of these people were leading very shitty lives and didn't even become famous until after their deaths. Some stories were quite frankly miserable and depressing, so read it at your own risk. So once again, this is from the book Daily Rituals. So these are the common threads he found. Number one is repetition. Consistency is key. So he says almost all the artists felt that they were far more productive in their lives by creating routine. This means doing the same thing day in and day out. Do you use any routines at all?
I only have bad routines.
Oh, okay.
Which I'm not going to mention.
He said, and then he talks about some other stuff. He says, what about waiting for inspiration, right? Like if you're going to force yourself to do something, why not just wait for inspiration?
Yeah.
So he says,
never going to happen.
Right. He says, George Gershwin was dismissive of inspiration, saying that if he waited for the muse, he would compose at most 3 songs a year. It was better to work every day. And another quote is from Chuck Close, who's a painter and photographer. I had to look it up.
Yeah.
He said, inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work. So the last quote is, a solid routine saves you from giving up, which is actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you have like a routine every day that you're supposed to be doing, then you sort of can't give up because it's your routine and you know what I mean? You're kind of hardwired just to do it.
I want to do that. I mean, I have all these ambitions, like set a routine, like set a schedule kind of on things that I would like to do every like morning and then in the afternoon. Like I don't want it to schedule every minute of my life because I'm self-employed.
Right.
But I do want to put some routines in place for sure.
Right. Later on in this post, he talks a little bit about that. But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like if you set aside time and it's, it's something that you do every day, without fail, it's like, it's not very stressful for you because you're just going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, in theory anyway, depends on what you're doing, I guess. Common thread number 2 is 3 to 6 hours of focused distraction-free work. So he says for many artists, a typical day went like this. Wake up, 3 hours of focused distraction-free work, a quick lunch, and another 3 hours of distraction-free work. Few artists, if any, were able to create with distraction. In fact, many of the artists had strict rules about noise. For example, their kids weren't allowed to make noise before noon as a distraction, right? So he said the lesson that you are habitually getting into, the lesson is that when you're habitually getting into that zone, you're far more productive and creative. Just a few hours of concentrated effort in a day will produce more in a week of work where you're checking more than in a week of work where you're checking your phone, email, Facebook, and Twitter every 10 minutes.
Guaranteed.
Yeah, that's actually a huge one for me. And, we share an office and sometimes I tell you to turn off the podcast and
turn
stuff.
Off the music.
Yeah, because it's like I can't concentrate in that environment. But yeah, every once in a while I'll get on my laptop and I'll sit in front of the TV. I totally tune out the TV. As long as it's not too loud, I can tune it out.
Yeah.
And even though that's kind of a distraction, it sort of fades to background noise.
Yeah.
It's just people aren't talking to me and I make sure not to open my email. I put my phone away and I just sit there and I do a giant amount of work really fast.
Totally. I do that every once in a while too. I'll say like, I'm not going to check any social. I'm not going to go to my email. I'm not even going to answer my phone.
Yeah.
All I'm going to do is focus on this until I get it done.
A lot of people don't do that. It's kind of surprising.
Yeah.
They feel like they have to be connected like they're doctors or brain surgeons on call or something. It's like, dude, no one's going to die if you don't answer your phone for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Worst case, you just call them back.
And you feel crazy productive when you get it done too. You're like, oh man, I really accomplished something today.
And I know that I was really productive when I look up and the clock has moved like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I'm like tired of thinking.
Yeah.
And that's when I know that I've done a lot. And then I look back and I go, oh, I did a lot.
Yep. Time for a beer.
Exactly. Common thread number 3 is a daily goal or quota. So he said, I'm not talking about long-term goals that span months or years. I'm talking about a daily goal or quota that you can handle in bite-sized chunks. This is ultimately what makes up your routine or ritual. Edmund Wilson wrote 6 pages. Somerset Maugham had a daily requirement of 1,000 to 1,500 words. Graham Greene wrote 2,000 words. The great Charles Dickens wrote 2,000 to 4,000 words. Stephen King has a 2,000 word quota every day, even on his birthday and holidays.
Dang.
So that's it. You just give yourself like I'm going to write, this much.
Yeah.
He said, although it was novelists and poets featured in this book, this also applies to anyone whose job it is to be creative. Do you write ad copy? Do you write code? Then you should have a daily quota.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And I actually left a comment on his blog about this. My quota usually is, I'll say, I'm going to work on this project, this, side
For a certain
project.
amount of hours.
Yeah. But I kind of like this other thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to get this one chunk done and I'm not getting up till I get it done.
Yeah.
And I've done that sometimes, but not consistently. So I'm going to try doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would do the right lines of code specifically, because I don't know how I would measure that. But
yeah, that's the hard part, is because with a lot of the stuff, including like chunking things down or breaking down a project into smaller bite-sized chunks, sometimes you don't know how long that chunk's going to take.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
I think
I believe in that.
But I think what the deal is here is, like, for example, like the writers, they block out 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they go, I have to write 2,000 words.
Yeah.
And if I get it done in half an hour, then I'm done.
Yep.
But I'm going to sit here until I get it done.
Yep. Well, one thing I started working on recently that you've been making fun of me in the office is my EL wire projects. And so one of my goals this week was to start getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, come into the office early, and spend like an hour to hour and a half every single day getting the project completed so I could finally do a Kickstarter campaign.
Right.
So I was going to set up a routine to do that, because otherwise it's been like 2 or 3 months since I last worked on it.
Yep.
I haven't got anything done on it.
And they talk about that later in this post too. So keep that under your hat. But no, that's true. You need to set a specific time and quota for yourself to work on stuff.
Yeah.
So the most, so Barman continues, the daily quota adds up over the course of a year. The most striking thing I found is how some of the writers worked. A few would just stare at the paper for hours, squeezing out just a few paragraphs in a couple of hours. Sound familiar, bloggers?
Yeah.
He said, it's the power of compound interest. Even a few paragraphs or a few lines of code over the course of a year adds up to something extraordinary.
Yeah.
And so then he says, common thread number 4 is get up early. I'm taking issue with this, not her. But he said, Frank Lloyd Wright worked from 4 to 7 a.m. when, in quote, when the mind is clear. He said, I think early morning things work because it's biological. There were a couple of night owls in the book, but there are very few and far between. This should match your temperament. For the most part, I think we're naturally morning people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've read stuff about that countered that point, like for creative people, in quotes.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl.
Yeah, you are.
And I don't know, in the morning, like I'm kind of bitter that I have to get up. Like, it's very few things make me happy to get up in the morning.
Yeah.
And so when I get up, it's okay, but it's like, it is what it is. But I'm not really in the mood to like be creative. I feel sort of put upon when people start asking me questions.
Yeah.
But at night, for some reason, my brain starts really clicking and I start getting these ideas and I get this energy, like I want to complete stuff. And maybe part of it's like, I look back at the day and I don't feel that productive, but I want to do it. But something inspires me. And I also get all these brilliant ideas.
Yeah. Brilliant? Really?
Well, to me, they're brilliant. Shut up, Brian. So anyway, common thread number 5 is alcohol, cigarettes, sex, and amphetamines.
All good.
I'm kind of joking here. He says, I'm kind of joking here, but at the same time, I'm not. A number of artists were straight up alcoholics. Not a routine I'd recommend. Many, especially the ones before the mid-20th century, were powered by cigarettes. And then there are amphetamines. The drug of choice before Adderall and modafinil came along was Benzedrine. I think the best story in the book was from Paul Erdos, a genius mathematician and workaholic. Friends were worried he was dependent, so they bet him he couldn't quit for 30 days. Erdos quit successfully for 30 days, then writes, "You showed me I'm not an addict, but I didn't get any work done. I'd get up in the morning and I'd stare at a blank piece of paper. I have no ideas like an ordinary person.
Oh my
You've set
God.
mathematics back a month."
Wow.
So he said, we all have our vices. If they can help you to do your work, go for it. Just try to keep them from becoming addictions.
Yeah.
So in conclusion, he said, I think Daily Rituals is an entertaining insight into how famous creative people work. The book probably won't change your life, but that's not why it's written. It's simply a collection of stories of how and why people just like you, yet slightly more famous, develop their habits and routines to get the work that matters done.
That's cool.
Yeah. That was really good.
I looked it up. Kindle, it's only like $11. Hardcover. It's only $14
I'm
on
going to
hardcover.
get it for my Kindle.
Amazon Prime too.
Wait.
So you don't even have to pay shipping.
Wait, for what? How much is the hardcover?
Only $14.10.
I see.
So just a little bit more. And then Audible. Man, Audible, I cannot believe they charge so much. $18.
That's a rip.
I know. We got to start promoting their affiliate program.
Yeah. It's probably become millionaires from just doing that.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good read. And that's another episode of the Daily Blogcast.
Yep.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
See ya.
You've been listening to the Daily Blogcast for Internet Marketing.
Visit our site, dailyblogcast.net, where you can find show notes and links to all of the blogs mentioned in this episode.
While you're there, make sure to sign up to our free newsletter so you're notified of new episodes and get a bunch of goodies delivered directly to your inbox.
Don't forget, we need your support, so do us a favor and log into iTunes and leave a rating and a review. It only takes a minute and they'll really help us out. See you tomorrow.
See ya!